So let's just crack straight on. I would be great if you could introduce yourself, what you do, and then what you did on our project together, the Straight Eight film Knockouts.
Perfect. Yeah, of course. So, my name is Sophie Charrington. I'm a producer, and I was freelance for about three years, in London working in advertising, and then I actually started working with directly for companies. So I work for a production company at the moment called Knock Knock, and we work in advertising mainly in fashion, but we also do a bit more like documentary style stuff, but we also do sort of like tech things too. But on the side, because everyone needs a little side project, on the side I like to do little films with people, with friends, with about interesting things. And I guess yeah, I was the producer of Knockout, and I guess like me and you kind of came up with this idea together. I think we were at where were we? Oh, we were at Yayan screening, and we were both
Yeah,
like maybe
London Film Festival.
yeah, that's right. We were a side or two in and just decided that let's do it. Let's make a straight eight film.
Yeah. I think
And it was
it was you came up to me and was like, "Do you want to do Straight Eight?" I was like, "Ah, okay."
and it was like painfully close to the final
Yes,
deadline, wasn't it? It was like a month before.
very painfully.
So I think as soon as you said yes, I was like, great, we're having a meeting tomorrow about this. So
Can you describe what Straight Eight is, just to give context to the whole
absolutely.
episode?
Absolutely. So Straight Eight is it's a film competition, film structure as well, I guess. That is very humbling. It is so every single person that applies for that puts their film forward for Straight Eight, it has to lie within a very specific set of rules. So it exists within um the world of Super 8. So you have to film it on a Super 8 camera. It has to be on one roll of film. So what that means is you have to film it chronologically. So by a normal way that a film is made is you may film it in totally out of sequence. You can do 30 takes on the same card and you can edit it. You can spend months, sometimes even years in edit and making it perfect. Whereas Straight Eight is zero editing. So you have to film it chronologically. You're going straight onto film, which is your final film. So you can't do any takes twice. You have to, when you're rolling, that is there. It's on that reel. It's on there forever. So if your take is not perfect, tough luck. Either you start a new roll and you start from the beginning, or you move on and you just hope that it looks okay. The really difficult thing about Super 8 though is that you do not have a monitor on the camera, so you can't actually see what you've shot, and you can't rewind and look at it because it's film. It's a very old um analog way of making a film, and yeah, you don't have a monitor. You can't see what you've shot. You can't hope. You basically have to film the entire thing blind and just hope that you've done well.
So, how, as a producer, like on this specifically, how do you get a project made? Because you're the first one in, you're the last one out. Like, what are the steps to actually getting something across the line?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would always do is find the people around me who are like similarly interested in the project, the idea that I am, or and quite often like you come up with a project with someone else. So that other person, so the first person is director, and maybe hopefully that director is also maybe a writer, in this case it was. So I mean the way that we made Super 8 was our Straight 8 even knockout was I cornered you in a at an event, asked if you wanted to make a Stray 8 film, and then I think within days we were both in a cafe, I think E5, having a lovely flat white and chatting everything through for about 2 hours. And like that moment is really important. That's when you're like coming up with ideas, you're sharing ideas, you're vetoing things, you're saying, yes, this is like the thing that my must have. Like this is absolutely my non-negotiable. Whereas like maybe we could do this now. That's not very funny. Let's do this instead. And you just have that sort of like tennis of ideas, which is really fun. And then the next person I usually ask is the DP, so the camera team or the light, the person behind the shots, I guess. And in our case, it was Sam Reaver, who's the guy I work with actually, and he's always been really interested. I know that he'd shot in on Super 8 before, and I know that he was a great cinematographer. So I actually got him involved, and what we did next was, I think we basically went into doing the mood film. I think that was our next step. So I just invited you guys around to my house and we filmed it together. I think I played Ruth and you played Jerry, and we just like played around with some shots, and we basically, I suppose you did a script actually between those two moments. You came up with the script. We kind of like spoke a lot about it with Sam as well. And then yeah, the mood film was really, really helpful. And I think that is,
Because the mood
say it's
film was
not a
more
mood
like
film, is it?
it's a previs. It was like a previs of the whole, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a mood film. I'm in mood film land in Aberdeen. But yeah, no, it was a previs, and that was the most helpful in terms of like actually finding if things landed, if jokes were funny, how long shots were going to be, because straight 8 specifically, but Super 8, you're not being able to edit the Super 8. Every shot has got to be timed perfectly. You can't edit in post and be like, actually, that should be a faster cut. You don't have that flexibility. You have to have, you're filming the comedy in the camera, and you don't have a chance to change it at all. So the previs was so helpful because we had to go, okay, well, if we want this bit to be funny, then it's got to be long, or it's got to be short, or it's got to, what's the best angle? What's the funniest way of filming? The section that we just watched, going up her body, like revealing her sort of being all like gorgeous and sexy, and him just kind of like absolutely stuck. That we had to think about, and we had to do it sensibly. But in terms of production, once I've got you guys kind of going on your like, you were refining the script, Sam was thinking about the shots and doing a shot list. It's about padding it out. So we did a casting session on who we just went on Mandy, but we actually knew like a guy. We knew the guy that was going to play Jerry from the start, and I knew that.
Yeah, he'd been in one of my films before, Mark, and then
yeah, exactly. And we were like, great. And when you're making something on a budget, you don't want to pass up any, like, enthusiastic volunteers are the bread and butter of like, I guess, filmmaking. Because you're on a budget. Everyone who wants to help is valuable. And so our crew on the day was built out of a lot of people that I worked with. It was built out from friends. It was everyone had a job, even if it was a job they'd never done before. And we just kind of like threw the kitchen sink at it. I think the only things I did a budget early on. I think the sort of like main cost of things were like the location. There were a couple of props and a couple of like clothing items that we wanted to get, and there was like a bit of a kit cost, I think, maybe with lighting. I think we managed to get for free.
oh, because Lux bought it all for free.
Yeah, so like you have, it's pulling favors a lot of the time, and you are like thinking, right, who's really good at this, but luckily, we both work in film, and as a producer, I do pay people as part of my job, so it then means I can also be like, hey, you want to do this thing for free? So yeah, so that was like the pre-production. Is there anything I've missed out? I'm not.
No, I think the shots are particularly because we did so much. We did 2 sessions, I think, on that previs, because we were like, right, we're just like, you and me were in it, and then we were just working the shots out bit by bit, like time. Because then I think because the AD on the day, we had it like literally timed to the millisecond. It was a stopwatch and
Yeah.
everything. I was stop like, and it had to be just
Yeah.
like, in that previous stage, you were pushing, come to the house, come to the office, and we shot it again, and we edited it again.
Yeah.
It's just like
I think like
how,
I became your worst nightmare for about 2 weeks. I think I was like for every 5 minutes on like appearing on your phone as an icon, just being like, "Hey, Will, come to my house, let's do this."
no, but it
You're like,
needed to
"I
happen. We
have
had
the
3 weeks,
time to do it." Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And then
so
just to go just really quickly, because I think it's something that is interesting on this one was the funding of it as well. Because when we met, and I just made a film, and I was like, I've got no money left. I got like nothing left. I spent it all on that film. And you're like, that's fine. Like how? But then how? Because we got it from two different sources, I suppose. The money for this, and it wasn't very much money that we needed, but you still needed something because like you say, food, location, transport, all of that kind of logistical stuff. How did you go
yeah.
about leading that?
So with Straight A, I'm just trying to actually find the budget because I think that's quite an interesting thing. So yeah, with Straight A, I think we were like um here it is, there we go. So yeah, I first of all I did the budget knowing that certain things were going to be free. So I knew that like all the crew were going to be unpaid. Um the talent would be unpaid, but they would have their expenses paid for. And um, I also, when I went into it, I was like, my company, we do this thing called Never Work, which is basically um, it's a division of the company where we do passion projects. So it's like developing the skills of the people. We're a company of like 15 people. We're editors, we're DPs, we're directors, we're producers and motion graphic artists and everything. So when we have a bit of time on our hands, their project's just finished, and we're all kind of like, oh God, oof, I actually have like a little bit an hour today to do something. Then what can we put that towards that's interesting and good for our love of film and developing our techniques to make us better filmmakers for our clients, but also for ourselves. And so like I was always trying to push the idea of doing a straight A anyway. So when you were like, yeah, let's do one, I was like, great, you're coming with me. And so we actually worked with Knock Knock. We worked with my employers to make it happen. So we used our kits. I think we even bought the FX3 with us on set. I think we were like, well, we might as well film some stuff on it as well. But we were able to I was able to work on like a bit during my company time, but I was also allowed to use the employees. So our first AD was one of my fellow producers, Neve, and she's brilliant. She's been a first AD on loads of stuff. And she's also a director as well. So it's kind of like it was a good opportunity for us to like flex some skills that are outside of our job role. The same for like production assistants. I know Lily was working on like BTS. Esther became our photographer. She's our motion graphics designer, but she stepped into a photography role for the day. And she was also working in sort of like set build and stuff. So it was really helpful for us to be able to kind of like use a lot more. I'm looking at the budget now actually. So the entry fee was a hard cost. Obviously you have to buy the roll of film.
Yeah.
And there was like very limited props. We spent like 100 quid on props. I think we did pay a hair and makeup artist for Ruth. Yeah, lighting.
Oh yes, we did have hair and makeup, didn't we? And then
Yeah.
location was the cost, obviously, as
And
well.
location was a hard cost, and I think we did pay for lighting. I think we paid for the travel because it did cost us to get there and back.
I think the location's quite funny though, wasn't it? Because we were like, how are we going to find a croquet club? And then it was Mark's parents, wasn't it? It was like Mark, who's the actor, his parents' croquet club.
It was perfect. So yeah, like we were like when we decided in pre-prod that we were like gonna do a comedy sort of take on two people getting ready for a very lovely inoffensive competition in their local village sports club. And we decided that we were going to make it a croquet club because originally it was, what was it before croquet?
Bowls club.
A bowls club, yeah. So we decided on croquet because our lead actor had his dad was a member of a croquet club, or like on the board of the croquet club, and it was in Surbiton, and we were like, great, that's like near London, it's got the village vibes, and it was beautiful, it was perfect. And we went there for a recce probably a week before the shoot, realized like they had the props we could use, they had all the, like, it was perfect. They even had like a table of things selling jam jars, and we were like, this is exactly what we want.
them.
Yeah, we used them. So like making, I know, and we paid for the location, but minimal. We were like, we're going to be there for it, like, if it's okay with you. And they were so sweet. But from that location, we actually got a lot out of it. And like, God bless, it was a lovely day. It was a good day for filming.
And what are you? And so obviously, is the creative side of like it works with the film, but then as a producer, like, what else are you looking at in that location just for making sure the day goes okay? What are the like green
Great
flags and what are the
question.
red flags? What are the like red
Great
flags? Just
question.
done
Yeah.
plenty of these where you're like, ours is so perfect, but that is kind of a no-go.
So a good location for me will always have multiple options, and one of them is inside. So you have to, like, when I'm looking at locations in short films, advertising, whatever, regardless, I try and find something that has as many different environments as possible, that in the case of an emergency, I have a backup plan. So if you're looking at an outdoor place, is there an indoor area as well that we could use? And in this case, there was. We actually had physical changing rooms, but we ended up shooting outside because it was a lovely day. It also, a really great perk, especially when you're on a budget, is having someone with a kitchen and an area for your crew, because we were shooting in like mid-February. In fact, we shot it on Valentine's Day. It was cold, and I made like a huge curry the night before, and I brought it in myself, and we cooked some rice. Like, I think one of the production assistants brought in their rice cooker, and we just had curry for lunch. And we could, because we had a kitchen and tables and chairs in the location that we weren't actually filming. So there was a place for our crew to be warm and be out the way. There was a place we could have our lunch on a budget, not ordering things from Deliveroo and stuff, because that's expensive. And there was options for a rainy day, and there was options for a sunny day. And even better is it was an authentic location for what we were filming. So a huge way of saving money is finding, if you're going to film someone playing croquet, your first port of call should be to find a croquet club, so that you have all the croquet accoutrement, but also you have like a genuine, authentic looking venue for your film that then, apart from anything, and this is a great sidebar, everyone who was in that croquet club watched our film, because they were like, oh my God, they came and shot a film in our croquet club. It's so sweet. And like, the people who owned it and ran it was so lovely. And I think Sue, who let us in, actually is in the film herself. And
Yes,
they asked us for like a quote for their like croquet magazine, and it was just like the most special, like, personal experience, rather than like paying hundreds of pounds to dress like just a lawn as a croquet club, and like having to pay for all those additional extras. Like, I would recommend anyone just like go for as authentic as you can.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, isn't it? It's like, it's authentic to the story, and then two, we had no budget for production design, so the location had to give us that, as well. It had to give us, like you say, all the croquet gear, and it's like, well, that's why we changed it from a bowls club, because
Yeah.
why
We
use
found
a
the
croquet
bowls
club?
people like a little bit.
It's gonna be very expensive, wasn't it, to fill one of the bowls clubs? Yeah. On the actual shoot day, so you've done, like we've just talked about, you've done all the logistics, you've done the funding, you've done the creative side of it as well, and then helped casting, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and we've got there, shoot day, everyone's there. We're now shooting. Are you done? You finished? Like, because obviously the assistant director runs the day with the director DP. What's the producer essentially doing at that point? I know it depends on the project, how big a budget it is, but like, yeah.
I mean, in theory, you would hope a lot of my work is done in pre-prod, and there is a fantastic video of me that Lily made of me just like pissing about and enjoying my time on set on that specific shoot day, because like, yes,
I have it.
Your job is your job as a producer, like, cut to now, your job as a producer is to line everything up so perfectly in pre-production that you arrive on set and you're actually there just like enjoying the day and actually thinking about post. But in reality, like, A, you're checking that things are going on time. B, Will, I love you, but creatives, they have a way of going off course. And I think it is important to make sure that your team are doing like staying on track, staying focused,
Mm,
not getting carried away with ideas because especially in straight A, you don't have the opportunity just to not include it. So you're working to a very strict schedule. Obviously the AD is running that schedule. I don't tend to get involved in like how much time we have left for shots and things like that. But I'm very much like looking over the shoulder and being like, okay, yeah, we're still achieving what we set out to achieve. We're still on the story. And if there's any major changes, then like I want to fucking know. Um, and so like it's a I guess it's more of an overseeing role, but like on our specific day, like I said, we were all stepping into roles. I was caterer, so I just cooked lunch for everyone.
mm,
And then I also was like running around with helping with props and looking for continuity as well, and like making sure that everyone had a hot drink if they wanted one and things like that. Like I would say like there are some producers that kind of like get on set and they just prat about for the day because they're like, well, I did all my hard work. But like, I would very much say like in any smaller production, there is no role that is too menial for a producer to do.
mm.
And I think that's a really important thing for any aspiring producer to know as well, is like everyone is there to help each other. Like if someone wants a coffee, go and get them a coffee. Don't turn your nose up at something that you think you're too experienced to do. Um, in like reality, like well, not in reality, but in my regular day-to-day advertising job on set, I'm very much focused on like working with the client, making sure the client's happy, making sure the client feels that like their vision is being addressed is quite an important thing. Like
Yeah.
quite often, again, directors, creative directors, they want to make a film as good as possible, but you're always trying to accommodate what the client wants to do with the film. And at the end of the day, they're paying for it. It's the thing that's selling their thing. So you have to achieve it. So a lot of the time, the producer is actually almost like the fun sponge, being like, I'm really sorry, guys. I know you're like getting a really, really nice shot here, but this is not the client priority. They want to
Yeah.
sell their drink or they want to sell their jumper. And right now, you capturing gorgeous shots of their like eyes isn't really doing that. So like
Yeah,
it's
sure,
it's
sure.
you're kind of trying to strike that balance.
I
But
suppose there's a balance, isn't there? Because you're like
yeah,
also direct, you're like on the director's side and the client side. The director's having to deal with the client as well. It's kind of
yeah,
all like mixed, isn't it? I suppose like on this one
exactly.
anyway, it is I knew that you knew the film as well as I did,
Yeah,
and that if anything was like, because there was a few moments in there just because of the nature of how one take you move on, and like things I would do on a normal shoot I couldn't do, and I knew I
yeah,
could go. What do you think? Like, what do you're like there
yeah,
just as an ally as well of like,
yeah,
or
yeah,
like in my head, I was like, okay, I know Sophie's here, so like, because I've done a lot of these where I produce it as well, and it's not as good
yeah.
because you're split, and it's like nice having same with the DP, isn't it? Just like you can go,
Yeah.
is this good? I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's nice to have that like collaborative approach to it as well, because like we're all doing quite a scary thing. And like I remember at the end of the day, we had done 52 shots, like the
Yeah.
whole film or something. It ended up being 52 shots. And we actually filmed the entire thing on an iPhone above the Super
At
8
the same time, yeah.
at the same time so that we could kind of see what we had made. And we edited
Yeah.
that afterwards to see like actually what had this worked, was that angle okay, what was this, or like, and it was really helpful. It was a really nice way of doing it, but it does make you a bit nervous. And when we wrapped on the shoot day, I remember we all just looked at each other and we just went like, fuck, that's it. Like I guess
Yeah.
hope that comes out well. Like
Yeah, also you just hope that it comes out like the actual
yeah.
roll of film comes
Yeah,
out
I
and
think
goes,
there was a
thank you,
moment
dear.
where Sam was like, I really hope the whole thing's not overexposed. And I was like, yeah, me too.
But there's a beauty, I think you're saying earlier around it's just like there's this beauty in that you can't look at a monitor and you can't see what you've
Mm,
done, and like you can't then there was I got such a buzz from it. I loved it because it was
yeah,
like it doesn't matter. And there was one point I remember Sam coming up and going, I think it might be out of focus. And I was like, doesn't matter because we already shot
Yeah.
it. And then it wasn't.
You just
But you
can't
just
not
had to do
worry
it
about
again. You just
it.
had to go,
Yeah. You
because
have
you
to be
can
so like
often just
in the
go
moment
over
to
and
do it.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you've taken away this possibility of like overshooting something and you just have to go so with your gut and what you feel is right. And if it's not right, then just get over it and move on because
Yeah.
you've only got that
100%.
day to shoot things. And like we were racing against the light fading. And like when we shot it, we were just like, don't fucking think about it, move on to the next shot. Like it was that.
Yeah.
I've also just reminded, sorry, this is such a segue back to the previous question, but the funding. So you said what was the two different types of funding? So I forgot to say. So we have Knock Knock kind of
I think it
doing
is
or like
second bit.
yeah exactly. Welcome to
Go
my brain. Um, they we did so Knock Knock were very helpful and like we got the team from my employing company and we got like I think we got the entry fee paid for by them and maybe the Super 8 camera roll paid for by them. But then
on.
actually all of the other stuff was paid, we fundraised for. So we actually just did like I think it was like 500 quid on GoFundMe or maybe
Yeah.
£600. We just shook down some family members and some friends and we made it and we raised it. And I think also the really interesting part that maybe made that a bit easier was it was such a specific concept and it was such a specific competition that we were filming for, and such a specific format that actually people were like, "Oh, that's really cool." And anyone that we were trying, like anyone that we approached for money, we actually had like a full website to send them and be like, "We're making one of these films. They're pretty
Yeah.
weird. Have a scroll, like have a watch of the website, like watch some films." And 9 people out of 10 came away being like, "That's so fun. Like that's really cool. I really can't wait to see the film. Here's 20 quid."
So one thing that helps you as a producer and one thing that hinders you as a producer from a director or like from the creative, so like the director or the writer, what's one thing that really really helps you as a producer and what's one thing that really like is like, god, this really makes my life so difficult. um
The thing that like always, and I guess it kind of answers both of those sides. The thing that
Great.
immediately makes me fall in love with a creative person is when they know what they want. Because like you having done the work and the like having a vision for it, but having fleshed it out a bit, having thought about it, considered it, found your references, thought about how you want to do specific things, makes a producer's life infinitely easier because not only are you taking away the sort of time taken when you're going back on your opinions and like the longest part of the process is refining an idea. And if you come and I guess it depends who comes to who with the idea, but like countless times, and it almost happens in every project, is like someone puts their idea forward, you then do the legwork to make that idea happen, and then you come back and they're like, actually, I've changed my mind. I don't think we should do this. I think we should do this. And now that's fine. Everyone changes their idea and they're totally entitled to change their mind. But kind of like taking punts is time consuming, it's expensive, and it also it's really frustrating. It does change the vibe. Whereas the more work that the person who has done the idea thinking has done before they actually like start using time and using other people's time, the better, because that then means
Totally.
you're being really efficient with your time, but you're also like, you know, I guess, yeah, you're confident in your ideas. And I think, look, I'm not taking anyone away anyone's right to change their mind. I think that's really important to say, like everyone and myself included, there are many ways to do the same thing. But it's very frustrating working with someone who's like, I don't know. I don't know if this is right, which is why I
Mm.
would always say before you ever spend other people's time and money on something, really spend your own time figuring out what it is you want to do and thinking about like the look. What are your influences? What's what's the end result, what's the impression that you want to give people, thinking about it in as many different ways as you can. um some people even like think of their project as a person, and if that project was a person, what would they say, how would they dress, what would they like, how would
That's
they
cool. I like
move,
that.
thinking about that. Yeah, because then it answers questions. And so when someone says, oh, is this the right language to use, you're immediately like, no, that's not, or yes, that is, or maybe that bit's wrong, or that bit's right, or that
Mm-hmm.
bit's wrong. The 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 way when you get into the territory of like not really being 100% sure of what it is you're after, that's absolutely fine in a collaborative sense. And if you're working with other people and like you're still in that phase. But if you're in the actual pre-production of something and you don't know what you want, you're wasting a lot of money in people's time as well. But also you're just like very much frustrating the team around you. And that vibe, that like energy in the
Yeah, yeah.
set and the pre-production is very, very infectious, and it can be quite like damaging to a project as
Mm.
well. You want to try and like, as a producer as well, you're really trying to like keep the energy and like like you're trying to keep people's enthusiasm there and going and like flowing. So yeah, when someone's like holding someone back or holding something back, or by a lack of like knowledge or understanding, especially if it's their own project, that can really like affect things. And that's when you can get people dropping out of projects and things. And that's
Okay.
then just so sad, because then you're like, oh, I've done all this work,
Yeah.
now you don't want to do it.
Yeah. I
And I
think
think
as well, once you start getting people on board, after the producer's on board, if it's then starting to go, the amount of questions you need to answer on everything, you do
yeah,
need to know the answers to the look and what the costumes are like and what the makeup's going to be
yeah.
like and what this performance is going to be like. And yeah, you can work. There's definitely time to work things out as well because there's like more people in, they'll add
Mm,
ideas. But then I think if you've got like a base of like, no, this is like you say, that person, that's where he
yeah,
is to be, then
yeah.
that's a good place to start. Yeah.
I would also say, and this is probably for like producers more, but I would really like encourage people to go with their gut as well. When you're like hiring people in, especially for free or for like a low cost, or for a passion project, really choose people who get your idea and who are
Yeah.
intrigued and enthusiastic about your idea. Don't try and fit a free square peg into your creative round hole.
Yeah.
That's a weird analogy. Yeah, I mean, I'm sticking with it.
I think I
I
get it. I think I
I
get
think
that.
a lot of people will be like, "Hey, it's free. Let's fucking use it." But actually, and like obviously there are some roles where like that's fine, it doesn't matter. But like the worst thing you can do is try and shoehorn someone who's not a right fit for your project into your project. And I think a lot of people are just like, it's free, I better take it. I don't want to bite the hand that feeds, but I don't want to, what is it? Look a gift horse in the mouth. But like it can actually be quite detrimental to a project, and it can also harsh a vibe big time. And it's happened to me on many projects, and it still happens because we hire people without fully knowing them a lot of the time. And then it does come clear, and you have to have like either an awkward conversation or you just have to make it work. So I would say like always prioritize hiring people who like get it and are enthusiastic
And
about
want to
your
be there.
idea and want to be there. Exactly.